Who do we have here to talk to us today?
My name is Sechehaye.
I'm Milly Sonneman.
So today we're going to have a presentation on your new business. And what is that new business?
It's more like a product idea that we call how to sell more stuff with storytelling.
We've just kind of structured out some things for you to tell us about. Why don't you tell us and show us what you're doing here?
Well, we believe that in order to engage somebody, in order to really make contact with somebody, in order to really identify what they're really looking for, we need to incorporate 4 steps. We need to have a visual aspect and really show what it is about. So we can really be on one page. So we really together on the same page. There's this saying of like, we're on the same page, right? So once we have gotten on the same page and we have that visual, we can start creating an interaction. Now that's a big word, interaction. What it really means is that we can have a question and answer game. That I can ask you a question, you can ask me a question, and we can all these things which run around in our head, straighten it out. Maybe making it a little bit more linear. Then we can go into a dialogue. Will you tell us more like what is the dialogue?
A dialogue is really a period of time where you want to get people talking, where you want to simulate the idea of people talking. And this is something to keep in mind any time that you're telling a story, because you want to feel like yourself and you want to get people talking. And that's how you can really start to get at the essence of you're doing more than talking at them. You're starting to help people identify what's really in it and what's really in it for you. So as you're listening to this theory about how to tell stories, I want to ask you to think about some problem that you're trying to solve right now, or some story that you're trying to tell right now. So you can say, well, how can I use this for myself? So now we've looked at 3 parts of how to tell a story: make it visual, make it interactive, create dialogue, and finally to verify, to make sure that you're getting it.
The most important part, I believe, is the verification. I think we all, when we tell stories, we can do it on one end that it's just about a feel-good experience. And yes, it's kind of nice. When we tell a story to a child, a bedtime story, we can simply verify it, because once the child is asleep, we've done a good job, right? However, how do we do this in a communication context? How we can really see like that we have really arrived at the same page and we've really done this process. So we always need to verify any kind of communication process in order to see where we're going. So that is a sequence or a process orientation. When we look at it as what we call like the authenticity pyramid, that's really the principle behind it. We believe that everybody in an audience will look at a presenter or a communicator. We'll first look at how credible are you? Is what you're saying actually credible? Does this really make sense? Or have you just made it up? I think we all have had a lot of bad experiences. I believe especially in the corporate world, we all know this. From our work we realize how many people have mistrust. They don't trust anymore that the aspects are credible. So that's a given. The next step is credible, creative. That we're all looking for creative venues to get new information. The whole idea about storyboarding, I believe, is just a vignette of being creative. That once you have that creativity, people are more likely to explore new ideas. That relates very closely to being authentic or being real. Because everybody knows when you're not yourself, when you're besides yourself. You have same presenters, we know exactly they're just making it up. They're not themselves. They're not authentic. However, the most important part is that you really show your audience that you care. That you really care that what you're showing to them is being really understood. Not that there's something happening with it. Hopefully the information will be compelling enough that everybody will stand up. Okay, now I want to do something.
So if you think about these 2 aspects, one we've just talked about, a blueprint for how to be creative on any topic. So you make something visual, you create interaction, dialogue, and finally you verify. That's one blueprint. The other blueprint is really a way of looking at being authentic, being yourself, and caring for your audience. And as Thomas just said, it starts with credibility. So you build your credibility. This is why it's important to believe this. And then you show your own creativity. You're not just doing it rote. It's not something you do any time of the day to any audience. You actually are creative and you're bringing yourself into it. And then finally, you're showing yourself, you're being authentic, and you're demonstrating care. And if you start to think about that story that you have in your own mind of what's the problem that you have today, or what is the story that you want to tell your boss, or you want to show to your staff to engage them, and you think about these two blueprints, you start to get a sense of, oh, I could use this as a method to actually have a repeatable process to repeatably engage any audience. And I think that's what makes it interesting, because it's not just random stories around the campfire, or somebody is talented at it, or somebody's very charismatic so they know how to tell good stories, and you have to kind of go to the corner because you have no clue how to do it. But it's any leader, anybody in a leadership position can be using these methods.
And that's where we go to the title, How to Sell More Stuff with Storytelling. It's stuff, quite consciously, because it's not about selling a process. It's anything. When I sit down here, even just with this interview, I want to be convincing with a picture. I want to be convincing and inviting. So it is about more and giving myself in the picture and really creating a big picture. That's what it is all about. How to sell more stuff with storytelling. And hopefully we made that clear in that little story.